Hello. Hey. Anywho, talking on the radio a lot today about taxing bad foods. So many thoughts on that subject and around obesity, blah, blah, blah. But in usual big government behaviour, their first instinct is to tax the end user, us. More tax. Whereas what they need to do is go back to the suppliers, the production of our food, and look at the whole food supply system. Perhaps talk to your big Procter & Gamble's, Unilever's, Kellogg's, blah de blah, and make sure they're producing healthy, nutritious products. So when you go into a supermarket, you might have a small treat area, which is fine. A balanced diet involves having the odd treat, but the mass majority of the food in supermarkets, even the packaged stuff, should be relatively healthy. There's no reason to have an inordinate list of ingredients of things you cannot pronounce. In an ideal world, and a world that would be very green and would support local economies and make countries food secure, food independent, is to promote your farmers more, make farming easier and more economically viable. And so people would shop local, buy local, eat fresh veg, protein sources, animal meat, animal products, dairy products, and they wouldn't have things in their cupboards that can last for months. You go back to my grandparents' era again. I'm sorry, I always talk about my grandparents. But there was no big Tesco's. There was no big Sainsbury's. It was your local butcher, your local greengrocer, your local baker. And they would buy their bread, their meat, their veg. They were farmers, so they often had their own milk and cream. And they did buy their butter from the greengrocer. I don't know. There was little waste, little packaging, and local economies were buoyant. As I said, food security was great. And now, and again, you look to COVID, and we relied on China mostly for a lot of stuff. And it taught us, or it taught me particularly, how dependent on others we are, and how we need to get back to being a much more independent country when it comes to food security, energy security. Unfortunately, this government seemed to be going even further in the opposite direction of making us completely dependent for energy and food. You have the likes of Bill Gates wanting to mass produce fake meat, or even lab-grown fake meat cells stuff. But basically, he would need huge factories, big swathes of land to put these big factories, using huge energy requirements, producing, again, nutritionally inept products. Anything fake is not good. We're all guilty of buying the odd ready meal when we're really busy. Unfortunately, life is a lot busier these days. But generally, the human is supposed to eat meat and veg, cereals, minerals, blah, blah, blah. Natural foods. What I just said there, again, has an impact in that life these days is so much busier. Most women, most mums work, doing at least 2 jobs, running around, crazy, sometimes. And kids seem to have crazier lives, so you just do quick dinners. We're all guilty of doing a quick pasta stir in, the odd pizza here and there. Whereas again, my gran, even my mum to some extent, was generally at home. It's all tied in together, isn't it? Because the husband usually was out at work and they could afford to support a family relatively easy for the majority, not everyone. And so a mum at home generally was able to go buy the food each day, make nice nutritious meals in the evenings. You know, the 70s came in and you got your Findus crispy pancakes and pot noodles and God knows what else. But before that, then working from home, as I'm doing now, this doesn't help with the obesity crisis. You sit on your ass. I'm generally sat really bad. My deportment's really bad. I get more tired sat in the house. You get lethargic. You go to the fridge. You go in the cupboard. Blah de blah. It isn't productive. You need people to be moving more. You know, again, in the old days, the good old days, people often were much more physically active. So they didn't watch much TV. They certainly didn't have these. They'd have to get up every time to change channel. A lot of stuff would be more manual labor with less washing machines or dishwashers. People walked more. People generally had more hobbies, just did stuff more than just sitting on the sofa watching TV, which again, I'm guilty of. Going back to the diet again, my grandparents would eat a lot of fat, a lot of full fat milk, a lot of cheese, a lot of butter, a lot of cream. As I said, a lot was natural, and the body processed it well. And then, like I said, they were farmers, they were active, they were physical. Kids often walk to school, but now we often live so far away we have to drive. Less activity there. I think schools should do PE at least 3 times a week, you know, like most private schools do, which is a really good thing. Not only is it good for physical health, it helps concentration in class, it helps behaviour, it brings bonding together with other students, a feeling of belonging when you're playing in team sports. All of it is great. You know, I've said before with energy as well, I half jokingly say we should all have a static bike fitness room at every school where kids take turns to pedal the bikes which are linked to the grid and can produce energy. I say that in jest, but you know. But fitness is a big thing. It's a huge part of my life. And that again was instilled in me from a really young age, through school, really, and having a family that were often physically active. It goes to the mobile phones today and modern technology. So again, when I was a kid, I'd have one TV program on a Friday, one on a Saturday that I liked. There might be half an hour at the end of school each day. But the rest of the time I'd do my homework, or I'd go and play, or I'd do fitness. Whereas these days kids are just, you know, again, I'm sat on my laptop, we're all just looking at screens all the time. And technology has brought benefits, but it has brought so many negatives. You know, again, I was sat here last night till 9:30 on here. My husband was on his. You know, you can always get emails. There's always something you can do. Whereas again, in the old, we should just go back to, let's get a time machine, go back to the old days. Old days, once you came home from work, around 5:30 usually, that was it. And people tended to do more. My dad would play squash in the evenings, or you would have a hobby, you'd go for a walk, you'd do something. Where so much now is just sat looking at a screen. There are so many aspects involved in health and diet and fitness and social norms, food production, just society change. It's all linked. and the whole lot needs to be looked at. You can't, and then it linked to that again is mentality of today, where taking self-responsibility for yourself, not relying on, oh, if I get fat, I'll just take a jab in the stomach, Ozempic or whatever it is. Which is just, you know, I've heard people say that kids should have that. I mean, what a way to start your life. No, mate. Get off your ass, do some fitness, eat less food. I mean, it is that simple. Obviously, you know, it's not always as easy. We always have our little treats. But in general, the idea of telling kids, don't worry, just take this drug for the rest of it, because you have to take it for the rest of your life. You know, and it become a negative spiral of lose weight, come off the drugs, put weight back on. You need to get your metabolic rate working well, your system working well, and that does not involve putting drugs in your system that again carry a lot of risk, and there's still no long-term data on such drug use. It's always quick fixes, isn't it? It's never going to the source of the issue. Something that we seem to see a lot today with our leaders. So you need to look at social norms, work-life balance, schools, mentality, technology, the food producers, and supporting local farmers. You know, it's all there together. I've no doubt missed loads of points I wanted to make, but that's my thoughts for today.